Sometimes ministry is difficult, but it's also a really huge blessing. It's also a really huge blessing. So let's turn together to Philippians chapter 2. Again, last week we got that first verse out of the way. Someone was being playful with me earlier today. He said, it's going to take you a while if you keep going at this pace. And I said, you know what? God's faithful, so it's going to be good. So Philippians chapter 2, we're going to do verses 2, 3, and 4 by God's grace today. And so let's go to him in prayer. Lord, speak to us. We want to hear what your word says. We are listening. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, because of COVID-19, one of the things that I am missing greatly this summer are the Summer Olympics. Has anybody else thought about that, noticed that? Right? It's been a while since they told us they were going to postpone them to next year, all that stuff. And so it's been a little bit off of our radar because of so many other different things that are happening in our culture. But I miss the Olympics. One event in the Olympics that I consider to be a pretty difficult event that doesn't get the recognition that normally other kind of big ticket, big name events get is the 110 hurdles, 110 meter hurdles. I mean, think about this. These hurdles, there's 10 of them. The first hurdle is just under 14 meters in. It's about 45 feet into the race. The first hurdle happens. There are 10 hurdles. After the first hurdle, they're about 10 meters, just under 10 meters apart as you go. It's about 30 feet, something like that. And between the last hurdle and the finish line is just over 14 meters. It's like 46 feet between the last hurdle and the finish line. Each hurdle is 3.5 feet tall. So Isaac, can you just stand up real tall for me, buddy? So that's about what a hurdle is, okay? So as you think about jumping over 10 of those and you're racing against other people to do this, the 110 hurdles, it's crazy difficult because of the dexterity, of the timing, of the leaping and getting back on the ground and running those 10 meters in between the hurdles and then finishing strong. If you start too strong, there's no penalty for hitting a hurdle except for it really slows you down, okay? And so it's just an incredible event to me, an incredible event. For context here, the world record for the 110 meter hurdles is about 12.8 seconds from 2012. 12.8 seconds, they go 110 meters in. An American named Aries Merritt has that world record. Compare that to the world record in the 100 meter sprint, just the 100 meter dash, right? It's 10 meters shorter, but the 100 meter world record is 9.58 seconds. Anybody know who the world record holder is on that one? Usain Bolt. That's exactly right. Good job. Usain Bolt is the world record holder there. So 10 meters and 10 hurdles for the fastest people on the planet cost them over 3 seconds. When you put that in context, man, that's a huge difference, really. That's a huge difference. Why am I talking about that today? I'm talking about that today because we also have hurdles in our lives. We have huge hurdles in our lives. And one of the things God's word even commands for us is that what we talked about last week, that we would live in humility, that we would honor the Lord by not thinking so highly of ourselves, but thinking highly of him and of other people. But there are enormous hurdles to us doing this. There are enormous hurdles for us being able to really live this way. Have you ever noticed that you know what to do, but sometimes it's hard to do what you know what to do? It's difficult, isn't it? I know this is what I should do, but what I really want to do and what I chose to do is something different. Parents, have you experienced that in your life with your children? Students, children, have you ever experienced that out of your parents, right? You've seen, okay, mom and dad say this, but they don't bat 1,000 either. Now, you be careful how you point that out, right? You be really careful how you point that out, but it's true. So what are the benefits of humility? Why are we even talking about this? Well, number one, we're talking about it because God's word talks about it, but they've actually started doing studies on the benefits of living godly characteristics out in our lives. Do you know that? Like Christian psychologists, Christian counselors, Christian scientists literally are studying, and some of them actually secular scientists, counselors, psychologists, are studying the positive effects of living what we would say is a biblical principle. Let me give you some of the positive effects of living a humble, life, of living a humble life. Greater humility is associated with greater physical health. Okay, think about that for a second. You're humble enough to go, I don't need to eat that. You're humble enough to go, have you ever noticed that sometimes men, no matter what they look like, they'll flex in front of the mirror? You ever notice that? Ladies, be careful. Okay? But have you ever seen, one of my favorite things is sometimes just watching, if there's a big mirror in a building, watching people look at themselves as they come in, check themselves out. How am I straight? What's going on? You'd be surprised how often it's not ladies that do that, but it's men who do that. They're just more sneaky about it sometimes, right? So greater humility is associated with greater physical health, greater mental health, including esteem, gratitude, and leading to and being willing to forgive other people. Humble people are more forgiving people. It goes on. Humble people are humility is associated with greater academic performance, greater job performance, because when they're confronted with a shortcoming, they don't go, let me tell you all the reasons why you're wrong and what I did was okay. They go, no, I need to learn from this. I want to learn from whatever's going on. Humble people have a greater job performance. They're more forgiving. They're more generous, and they're generally more helpful. Humble people experience more positive, here's a good one, more positive romantic relationships, greater positivity in their romantic relationship, there you go, husbands and wives, than people who are not humble. They form and repair social bonds more readily than others. Have you seen two people that are just in conflict, and all it would really take is somebody saying, you know what, I'm sorry. Just someone to say it first to kind of break the dam and let the water of forgiveness kind of rush over everyone. We've been in relationships like that, haven't we? Okay? Humble people experience the greater repair in social bonds, are more readily there for others, are less anxious about death, and are more compassionate and experience less spiritual struggle than people who are proud. So as we talk today, this is not something that, Eric thinks is a good idea for us to discuss. No. God's word thinks it's a really good idea for us to learn and discuss. And literally, we are becoming more aware of the positive benefit of really obeying Scripture. Even people who don't know Jesus are looking at these things that the Bible teaches and going, wow, this really does make sense. Isn't that funny that God's word somehow just makes sense? Who knew, right? Well, God's people knew, and we want to live that way. And so there are huge benefits to living in humility, but there are hurdles to living in humility. I want you to hear me. Just listen. The greatest hurdle to a humble life, guess what it is? Me. The greatest hurdle to a humble life is not my circumstances. It's not other people and how they're treating me. It's not whatever's going on in life. The greatest hurdle to a humble, more blessed life, because you're living in humility, it's us. It's you. It's me. That's my greatest hurdle. How do I know that? Why do I believe that? Well, let's jump in the text today. Philippians chapter 2, and let's start in verse number 2. Start in verse number 2. Last week, we talked about this motivation. We can choose to be humble, and verse 2 is going to talk to us about living in unity, okay? Verse 1, actually, let's read verse 1 just for context here. It says, so if there is any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. So how do I get this? Where do I get this that I'm really my greatest hurdle? Look back at verse number 2. Can you look with me? Click, look, however you're doing that. All right? Come on, y'all. Give us some feedback today. Y'all wake up. It's okay. All right? Verse 2, it says, complete my joy by being of the same mind. Okay? Having the same love, being in full accord and of one another. Now look at verse 3. Do nothing from selfish ambition. Do nothing from selfish ambition. What is selfish ambition? I heard it defined this week. I heard it defined this way this week. Here's the definition. Ready? Selfish ambition. I want my way. There's a definition. I want my way. I want what I want when I want it. We live in a fast food culture that we think everything should just happen right there for me. And even this fallen nature in us to be selfish is reinforced by our culture. Listen, we all live this way. We live in such a way that, you know what I want, and if I don't get it, it's going to be bad for everybody. We live this way. We treat each other this way so very often. But this is not how God would have us treat each other. Let me give you some examples of what this might look like. They're unending examples. Let me give you just a few, okay? How many of you, when you go to the grocery store, check out the lines to try to determine which one is going to be the fastest before you get in line? Anybody? I did it yesterday, okay? Why do we do that? Because I want to finish first. I want to get out of here first. Have you ever noticed how everyone driving on 400 or any interstate or any road where you are going, if they're going faster than you and like blow by you, your thought immediately is, look at that idiot. What is wrong with them? Okay? But anyone in front of you going slower than you want to go is like, okay, Farmer Joe, let's go. Right? We think everyone should drive the exact speed we want to go the whole time. Why? Because we're selfish. We're selfish. And we treat each other, instead of like we're in this together, we treat each other like we're competition. That's how we treat each other. We treat each other as if we're competition instead of, no, we're in this together. When you're picking out food at the dinner table today at lunch, you want the best piece of meat. You want to get where you're going fast. You want, in your marriage, I want my needs met. She's not meeting my needs, and so this is not going well. Or he's not meeting my needs, so this is not going well. That's a me first mentality, and this does not honor Christ. We have this selfish ambition. We are so selfish with one another. Sometimes even, Julie and I were confessing this in small group today. This is a constant confession of mine. Sometimes I get the most frustrated with my kids, not because they did something they shouldn't do, but because they did something they shouldn't have done, and it affects what I was doing. I have to stop what I was doing and come help them. And so, you know what? It's an intrusion upon my schedule. Can I just say, I'm just being honest with you. And if we all probably are honest at times, we have interacted with our kids like that. The reason we got frustrated with them was less about what they did and more about how it inconvenienced us. Right? And the God's word would say, you know what? Selfish ambition is a huge hurdle because you want what you want when you want it. How many times have you been somewhere at a big event, maybe even a church in the past, and when it's time to leave, like people refuse to let you out? Right? No, I got to go first. I'm sorry, you're not getting in. All right. Let me tell you two things that frustrate me like crazy. I'm just confessing this, bearing my soul to you. You can judge me. It's fine. Okay. Two things that frustrate me. When you're going into a parking lot and there are people walking and they're just out willy-nilly in the middle of the road, just like going like you don't exist. Yesterday, Julie and I went to the grocery store for a moment, and this couple was coming, and they were kind of in the middle, so I just kind of scooted over a little bit. Well, the lady splits off and walks in front and looks up and like smiles and just keeps going straight in the middle. Like, are you serious right now, woman? I got places I got to go, right? Now, that was maybe selfish of her, but it was also my response. I had to check my heart a little bit, right? It was a little selfish of me, too. The other thing that drives me nuts when there's traffic, and 3 lanes are becoming 2 or 2 lanes are becoming 1, and you get over and you're in line. And then all these other people who think they don't have to wait, that were like a quarter mile behind you a minute ago, they zoom up in the lane that's ending and they try to cut over in front of you. Can I just confess to you that I hug bumpers in front of me? You will have to hit me to get in if you do that. Okay? I'm just being honest with you. But guess what? That's them being selfish, but guess what? I'm being selfish too by not letting them in, right? It's both of us, all right? And so often what we have to do to overcome this is we've got to stop thinking we are the center of the universe. We've got to stop thinking we're the center of the universe. In the early 1500s, when virtually everyone believed Earth was the center of the universe, this Polish scientist named Nicholas Copernicus proposed that the planets instead revolved around the sun. Although his model wasn't completely correct, it formed a strong foundation for future scientists to build on and improve mankind's understanding of the motion of heavenly bodies. So basically, Copernicus realized what people believed for millennia is that the earth was the center and everything went around us. The sun went around us. Any other stars, they went around us. That's what they believed for millennia. Copernicus comes along, observes some things, is like, no, we're not the center. What I believe we need today is a Copernicus moment in our own lives. We've got to realize that the world doesn't revolve around us. My dad, his ex-wife, was my stepmom for a number of years. Maybe I told you this, but when I was a teenager, when I just acted like the world should do what I wanted it to do when I wanted it to do it, she wouldn't say anything. She would just do this. Right? Yeah, Eric, everything's revolving around you. Tell us what you need. Right? And we can laugh about how sometimes young people can act that way, but we can act that way just as much as adults. We just spiritualize it better. We twist it better. We massage it a little better so we are not like quite as bad at people for doing that. But I believe the Lord would tell us we put away all selfish ambition. So we are not the center of the universe. Well, how can we tell? How can we tell if we're humble? All right, so we're going to take a test in here. So how many of you would say, I'm a pretty humble person? Okay, automatically disqualified. Okay, it's one of those weird things like, yeah, I'm humble. No, you're not. You just said you're humble. How can you be humble if you said you're humble, right? I set you up. I'm sorry. If you raised your hand, I'm not judging you. I was raising mine too, okay? Right? It's a weird thing. Like, how do you even determine this? Well, scientists, these same people have studied some of this stuff. And I'm going to read this to you, okay? Now listen, I want you to think about yourself. But if you're married, I want you to think about your spouse. I'm going to give you a few things, and I want you to give a number grade from 1 to 10. Okay? 1 for yourself, 1 for your spouse. If you are not married, pick a sibling, pick a friend, pick somebody that you're going to grade. Okay, now listen, be gracious, be gentle. Maybe don't share the score unless they ask for it. Okay? I'm not looking for a fight in here today. Okay? But let's be real for a second. Let's be real for a second. A few things that describe humble people. 1, humble people have an accurate view of themselves. It's not too inflated, and it's not super low. Let's talk about this for a second. It's easy to see arrogance in people that's like, oh, wow, you really think highly of yourself, don't you? Right? But sometimes what we will do is, some of us, our bent is not to go, yeah, I'm awesome, and everybody should think so, and here's why. Some of our bent is like, I'm just terrible, and like, woe is me, and like, nobody loves me, and we're just, when you do that, who are you talking about the whole time? You. So what's your focus? You. What's the root of when you focus on you, even if you think too high or too low? Pride. Selfishness. Amen? Don't you feel encouraged today so far? Isn't this great? Thank you, Lord, for Philippians. I thought this was a book of joy. Come on, right? Okay, but so we need to understand this because you will never have real joy apart from seeing yourself in light of Scripture. Because you put yourself too high, you put yourself too low. We need to think accurately about ourselves, okay? So accurate view of yourself, neither too high nor too low. Second, the ability to acknowledge mistakes and limitations. The ability to acknowledge mistakes and limitations. Listen, sometimes the best thing you need to do is like, yeah, I messed that up, my bad. I'm really sorry, I handled that wrong. Dads, moms, we should be really good at this. Dads and moms, we should be really good at this. You mishandle something with your kids, own it. You know what? Dad messed up right there. I talked too rough to you. I'm sorry. You want your kids to grow up and be humble people? Set the example. Dad messed up. I shouldn't have said that like that. What I said was right. The way I said it wasn't. I'm sorry. Forgive me. You're still in trouble, but forgive me. Okay? Husbands and wives. speak to each other with grace. Acknowledge where you messed up. Listen, here's a rule that I try to live by that I don't really fully live by. All right, but I'm trying. Ready? If the other person is 99.9% wrong, and unless it's a situation where there's abuse, one of you owns, like both of you own some level of responsibility to whatever this conflict is. Unless it's abuse, you have a part. Maybe you didn't start it, but you finished it, or you said something in the middle, right? Can we just all agree with that, okay? Here's how we want to handle these things. If the other person is 99.9% wrong, we should own our 0.1% the same way we want them to own their 99.9. Amen? Because if we did something wrong, we did something wrong. Even if it was well, I never would have done that if you hadn't done that first. Yeah, but you still did it. You know, in sports, they always notice the person who swings second, not the person who hits first. You ever notice that? Usually the first person who throws a punch, they might not even realize it happened, but they always see the second one. Don't retaliate. Especially in your marriage, people. Because guess what? You committed to live the rest of your life with that person. Okay? This is a big deal. So, ability to acknowledge mistakes and limitations. Third, openness to new ideas. Okay? I call this the Moses and the rock situation. Right? Remember Moses? God tells him to strike the rock the first time, and water comes out to feed over like 2 million people, all their livestock, all that stuff. But the second time, God tells Moses to speak to the rock. But he does tell him to take the staff. Moses gives into temptation, yells at the people for being so like obstinate, which they were, okay? And then in his anger, he hits the rock. Now here, take the water. Now God gives the water because the people needed it. But what happens to Moses? Sorry, bro, you're not coming to the promised land. I love you. You still get to come to heaven. You don't get to go to the land filled with milk and honey. You don't get to go there. Right? We've got to be open to new ideas. In other words, just because we have always done it this way doesn't mean we should always do it that way. Maybe it does, but maybe it doesn't. We need to be open to one another and be humble enough to go, you know what? I could be wrong. Let's listen. Here's number 4. Keeping one's accomplishments and abilities in perspective. Keeping one's accomplishments and abilities in perspective. Have you guys ever noticed how the older you've gotten, the better you were at sports when you were younger? Man, let me tell you, 39, I'm getting really good about like back in the day. I wasn't as good back then, but now that I'm 39, back then I was really good, right? This is what we do. We dramatize, we glamorize this stuff. Chip Ingram says this. He says, humility is the ability to dial back our normal tendency. Listen, the ability to dial back our normal tendency to overestimate our abilities and behaviors. You ever seen people who just like, man, I can sing. Okay, these people on American Idol or on whatever, and you just think like, do you not have a friend in the world to say, you know what, you're good at other stuff. It's okay. You don't have to be good at this, okay? You don't have to be good at singing. We love you the same. It's fine. Do not embarrass us on national television, okay? Right? That person needs a friend. They need a friend. Well, guess what? A humble person, we keep our accomplishments and abilities in perspective, all right? Number 5, we have a relatively low focus. And because of this low self-focus, and because of this, what happens is this. Listen, when you were in middle school, did you ever go to a dance? Go to a middle school dance? Homeschoolers are like, what is that? It's fun, okay? Dance, like, are we allowed? It's cool, all right? So somebody says, well, can Baptists dance? I don't know, some can, some cannot, okay? All right? Whatever, okay? But you remember going to the middle school dance and just being scared to death somebody was going to like laugh at you or say something funny about how you were dressed or what you did, and so you were just like nervous the whole time, right? I don't want to be made fun of. I don't want to. And what happens is this. What people don't realize is that everyone at the middle school dance does that, and so no one's really paying attention to anyone but themselves. Everybody just walking around going, don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. On the inside, that's what's happening. That's what's happening, okay? I lived it, you lived it, we lived it, okay? Well, guess what? Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking about yourself less. You're not worried about you. And when we do this, here's what's crazy. It opens our eyes that we can see the needs of other people. Years ago, I drove this black Ford Ranger Edge. And I drove this thing. I bought it brand new, which was dumb because I didn't have any money. But I bought this thing and I drove it for a while. We wound up selling it. We have different cars now. It's the last car I financed. But at one point, I needed new tires, and my tires were getting really bad, and we didn't have the money. It wasn't like we needed to reallocate. It didn't exist. Okay, it didn't exist. And so my church was parked, or my church wasn't parked. The church stayed. My truck was parked at church where I formerly served. Some humble person noticed, and I hadn't been talking about it. It wasn't like, hey, I need new tires. I wish somebody would give me some. You know what I mean? Like, that's not happening, okay? Some humble person noticed that I had a need. I came out after work one day. I'd been in the office all day. I came out after work, and there were 4 brand new tires sitting in the bed of my truck. I still to this day have no idea where they came from. No clue where they came from. You know what that made me do? Here, listen to this. Because someone was humble enough to give a gift and not even, like, they were humble enough to notice the need, giving and serving, and humble enough to give a gift without wanting any recognition for it. They gave it in such a way that there's no way I could figure out who it was. I tried because I wanted to say thank you. But because I couldn't thank them, who did I have to thank? Who's the only person I had left to thank? God. Because God provided that. God used a person, but he put it on somebody's heart, and they provided it, but it really came from him. Them handling it that way, it forced me to go, God, thank you. You're so good. Thank you. Thank you, God. And all it took was someone being humble enough to say, you know what? Eric needs something. Let me see if I can help out here. And lastly, appreciating diverse perspectives. Even if in the end we realize that they're wrong, we stop long enough to actually listen. I think our country would be in a lot better place if all of us would practice a little bit of humility. Even if in the end we realize, like, that's probably not the best argument. I don't like that word, but you know what I'm talking about. If we would be humble enough to go, okay, I'll listen. I might not agree. You got to be humble enough to receive that, but I'll listen. Absolutely. But we don't do that. We don't do it. So, selfishness. All right? Next. The root of the issue is selfishness. Here's the root of the issue. Pride. The issue is selfishness. Where does selfishness come from? It's from my pride. The old, King James version of this, look in Philippians 2, verse 3 again. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit. The old word here is vainglory. Isn't that a good word? Vainglory. Think about vanity, vain. Oh, it's just so vain, and glory. In other words, it's glory that means nothing, right? Vain glory. And this is how so often we live our selfish, proud lives. If selfishness is what we do, pride is why we do it. And we think things like this. Whether we may never say this out loud, but our actions say that this is what we believe. We believe I'm better. I'm more important. I'm more intelligent, so you should listen to me and stop talking. We think my time is more valuable than yours. We think my life is more valuable than yours. My life. What we often do is this. We think, I want this person to have this lofty perspective of me, and so I'm going to do whatever it takes for them to think that about me. Some of us try to do that by building ourselves up. Here's what's crazy. Here's how deceitful pride is. Ready? We don't want people to think that we're proud because we know pride is wrong, and so we will purposely use self-deprecating verbiage about ourselves. We'll badmouth ourselves, and on the inside, this is what we're doing. Now they know I'm really humble. It's weird, isn't it? It's crazy. This is what we do. This is the human heart. Some of you are sitting in here today not me, not me. Yes, us. Yes, us. And this is not the example that Jesus set. So how do we know when we're clearing humility's hurdles? Let's go fast to the last part. How do we know that I'm clearing humility's hurdles? I'm clearing humility's hurdles when I first live with an I am third mentality. Look at chapter 2, the last part of verse 3 and then verse 4. It says this, but count others more significant than yourselves. Then verse 4, let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. We live with an I am third mentality. Why I am third? Because God others me in that order. God others me in that order. We have to live with this mentality. Well, how do we do that? Well, first, by valuing others' gifts and contributions more highly than my own. By valuing others' gifts and contributions more highly than I value my own. And here's how this looks. You're not bragging about what you did or what you said or what you gave. But if you find out something good about somebody else, that's what you're bragging about. Church family, we need to get really good at talking behind each other's backs. It's just that we say encouraging, positive, uplifting things. Isn't it one of the greatest things? Isn't it one of the best feelings in the world when you weren't somewhere, but people were talking about you and they were saying kind things about you? Isn't that one of just the best things? I love that. That just fills my heart with joy. It blesses my heart. Now listen, there's tons of stuff they could say that would be true that wouldn't be good. But they chose to be humble and to build me up in other people's eyes. But so often we tear each other down in other people's eyes. And this honors the Lord, this I am third mentality. We value others' gifts and contributions more highly than our own. And how do we do this? Because by killing competitiveness. We are not in a competition to be God's favorite. The Bible says, here's the competition we're in. It says, outdo one another in showing brotherly love. Outdo one another in showing honor. That's the competition. So here's the challenge. This week, you want to win this week? Build other people up more than other people build other people up. That's how we win. That's you choosing to, you know what? You might be more gifted or more talented than somebody else. But that's not where we focus. We focus on, no, what are their gifts? How can the Lord use them? I want to pray for them this week. I'm going to pray that the Lord will use them in mighty ways. And I see this about them. And sometimes what we also do is we get one-on-one with those people and we tell them, you know what? I see this about you. You have just a really servant heart. You have a really tender heart when people are suffering, when people are struggling. I see that about you. And we build each other up. We build each other up. So instead of living selfish, proud lives, we live with an I am third mentality that values others more highly than ourselves. And then lastly, and this, by caring for others' needs and interests as intentionally as I care for my own. Look at verse 4 again. It says, let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. Why? Because we are the same body. And if your foot doesn't care about your knee, you're going to get injured. Hello? Are you out there today? We have got to serve one another in humility because listen, I have a friend and she's just crazy. Okay, she's crazy. She's one of these people that just says things in a funny voice, but she'll also text things like how she says it, and it's like extra vowels and consonants and like all this stuff, right? It's fun. But here's kind of her phrase. We the same. We the same. We're in this together. We are the same. It's us. So let's live that way. It's us. It's us. So let's live that way. And maybe we can make some more us's as we go out into the community this week. So by caring for those needs as much as we care for our own. Now, how can I begin clearing humility's hurdles? How can we specifically do this? 4 quick things. Ready? I'm going to talk fast. If you're writing stuff down, write fast. Here we go. 4 quick things. 1, we unite in truth. Look at verse 2. I skipped it. You thought you was worried I wasn't going to teach it. I know you were. Verse 2. Complete my joy by being of the same mind. It literally means think the same thoughts. It's the idea of rooted in what's true, and what, church family, is true. What's truth? God's word is truth. We cannot have real unity when we're just permissive of everything that happens in our world. That's not real unity. It's not. Now, we want to speak the truth in love. We want to show grace. But we can't just say, well, that's okay for you, but I'm not going to do that. And it's okay for you. If it's a sin issue, it's not okay for them. It's sin. And if you live in that, it's going to destroy you. It's not love for me to see my kids playing in the middle of 400 and go, you know what? That's what they want to do. Good for you. Go for it. It's not. But so many times we see one another living in destructive ways, and we won't love one another to speak out in love to one another. Sometimes we'll talk about one another, but we won't talk to one another. So real unity starts with what's true and us aligning under the truth. Second, how can I begin clearing humility's hurdles? We unite in truth. And secondly, we unite in love. We unite in love. We understand we don't deserve this good stuff from God, but he loves us anyway. And that's how we're going to love other people. You've heard of the golden rule, right? You've heard of the golden rule? Okay, what's the golden rule? Somebody shout it out to me. What's the golden rule? Yes. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Right? Treat your neighbor as yourself. You can word it different ways. That's what it talks about. I heard someone say this week, you know what? The golden rule is awesome. This text is actually telling us to live the platinum rule. Instead of just treating one another the way we want to be treated, this person said, no, let's treat one another the way God has already treated us. Let's treat one another the way God has already treated us. And so second, we unite in love, like real love. And real love casts out fear. Real love speaks the truth. Third, we unite in harmony. We unite in harmony. I was going to grab a guitar, but I don't want to do that today because of our time. But to make a chord, it takes multiple notes played simultaneously. Any note in and of itself might sound good, but when all the notes are played together, it creates a chord. Isn't it beautiful when you see all the voices up here and they're singing in harmony? You can tell, though, when someone's off. They missed that note on the guitar. Like Josh never does that, but some people, right? Like when they miss that note, it's like, oh, sour. Let's keep going. We're all going to love you well enough not to show it on our faces right now, even though we're doing like the turtle thing, okay? Right? But we unite in harmony. And here's what it looks like to unite in harmony. You serve with your gifts and abilities. I serve with my gifts and abilities. They serve with their gifts and abilities. And as we play, it's this beautiful orchestra that honors the Lord, and it plays one song. What's the one song? Here's number 4. Ready? The one song is that we have one purposeful mindset. The one song is the gospel of Jesus Christ. The one song we play as we serve and play our parts is the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's what we play. Because the gospel is not only how we're saved, it's also how we live. Amen? So many of us, we get saved and we're like, I can't save myself. I need Jesus. And we in our despair, we call out on him and he saves us. But then after we come to know the Lord, we feel like, okay, but now I'm getting a grade. And God's going to like me or not like me based upon my performance. How we serve the Lord in our obedience, yes, it is important. But Ephesians 5:1 says, be imitators of God as beloved children. It does not say be imitators of God so that you can be beloved children. You already are beloved children. Already are, apart from your performance. And so as we play this song together, it's this beautiful harmony and it honors the Lord. But it starts with us realizing where the hurdles are, timing our steps, and by God's grace, clearing them. Today, are you living and choosing humility? Are you, like we talked about last week, are you answering the phone going, Me First Ministry, how can you serve me today? Let's choose humility. It'll bless us, it'll bless others, but more than that, it'll honor the Lord.